webinar later. Welcome. David, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me on the webinar again. It's great to talk to you and to all the people that follow USPAEC and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
We have a very interesting topic today, David, e-commerce. And you're going to be sharing some e-commerce, some of the latest e-commerce trends, and you're going to tell us why it's so important to have an e-commerce strategy to boost your sales. So definitely exciting because it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. But before we start with your presentation, David, if you don't mind, could you please introduce yourself again and also ULTRIX?
Great. So my name is David. Right now I'm based out in Argentina, but we have a team in the US also. We have our partners, Victor in Ensenada, Baja California. We have people in the US. I grew up in the US and studied in the US. And I started working in FinTech about 7 or 8 years ago, and my partners have been working in technology for 15 and 20, 25 years. And starting out in FinTech, working in FinTech, I got into technology and started building solutions for enterprise, for commerce, understanding FinTech and the necessity of companies of all sizes, SMEs. That got me into development, and we started ULTRIX 3 years ago for the American market, focused on the American market, looking to supply great software development and outsourcing solutions for the American market, thinking of SMEs, small businesses that might not build the platforms they need to build because they don't have the capital, or they think it's too expensive, or they've looked at offshore and they realize that it might not be a good fit. So with Victor, our partner, our sales director, and Patricio, our infrastructure director, we built ULTRIX focused on the American market, and part of that is what we're going to talk about today, digital solutions, digital presence, and e-commerce solutions for SMEs, for small businesses to be competitive, especially in this era of post-pandemic or what happens after the pandemic.
For sure, and for some of you guys that missed the first webinar that David hosted with us, make sure that you check it out because we talk about nearshore solutions and some of the topics that he is addressing right now. But before we jump into the presentation, I want to remind you that if you have any questions, please share them through the chat, wherever you're watching this live, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. And we will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So, David, are you ready?
Ready. Let's get going. I'm excited about the topic.
Yeah, no, me too. It's one of my favorite ones for sure. Let's go.
So basically, we're going to talk about the state of e-commerce, why it's so important. Maybe there's businesses out there, SMEs out there that don't have a digital presence for some reason, don't have their e-commerce solution, aren't being competitive. And we're going to talk about that and why it's important to be able to boost sales and to be able to be competitive and to, push through this pandemic, push through and actually start growing if you don't have a digital solution. And we're going to talk about, some of the alternatives and what's going on in the e-commerce space all over the world. Next slide, please. So it's really important to understand what has happened in the last few months with e-commerce and the pandemic. We've seen in the 3-month span during the pandemic, the worst part of the pandemic, we've seen a 10-year growth. So it's been like in 3 months, we've seen 10 years worth of growth in e-commerce. And that has been all over the world. 20% in Latin America, 20% all over across the board. Think numbers changed. People saw the need to purchase online, had no other alternative, and actually migrated to online shopping before they might have, 1 or 2 years or 3 years before they might have done it without being forced by the pandemic. So those companies that had an online presence before, saw a competitive advantage. A lot of companies started to build their online presence and their e-commerce quickly to be able to compete. And some of them stayed behind, and that could have been and could be deadly if you don't get on track and get online and build an e-commerce solution for your customers as soon as possible. Next slide, please. This is a quote from a consulting firm that's focused on commerce and online commerce. And they said, we're seeing this rapid shift, and it's not just e-commerce, in everything. Consumers are demanding speed and efficiency, no matter what you're doing. So, consumers are expecting that you provide an online solution for your product, for your service, and that you do it well and you do it efficiently and quickly. They've gotten used to that. And if they don't have that solution, they might go to the competition. You have to be able to provide a good e-commerce solution, to provide a product that they're looking for, and to do it in a very efficient and speedy way, because consumers, especially in the US market, have gotten used to getting deliveries on the same day sometimes from companies all over the United States. And it's so important to understand that it's important to be online, but it's also important to be online in an efficient way, to have logistics set up with your e-commerce. And the difference between a good e-commerce platform or solution, building a good e-commerce solution for your clients, and just having an e-commerce because you say, okay, let's see what we're going to sell online. There can be a big difference between one and the other. If a shopper comes online and doesn't have an intuitive platform or page to be able to shop, then they might leave and they'll go to the competition, or they'll find another e-commerce store that will solve their problem. Next slide, please. So some of the key points: consumers worldwide are buying items rarely purchased online before the pandemic. That goes from supplies and groceries, and they started shopping things that they would have never shopped for online. And that's big, because when they realize that they can shop for that, and something that they wouldn't have done before, then they realize that it brought them to online shopping because they had a necessity, and it allowed them to understand how simple and easy and safe it was. And so they started to stay, and they started to shop online more and more. And like we said, those that aren't online are missing out. This was amplified by the pandemic. There was this shift that satisfied consumers, and their online experience got better. Companies, started to build great solutions online, and it's really important to understand that you have to unlock that e-commerce presence and start to, some companies are a little bit ahead of the curve, so it's important to get online as quickly as possible if you're not online, or if you're online, to build a solution that's really good and it's good for your clients, because companies are going to start innovating in such a way. They're going to start implementing AR, they're going to start implementing versions of their platforms that are going to be super easy to shop, where you're going to be able to try on things online and then get them delivered to your doorstep. So it's important. These are some of the numbers that the consumers are seeing, and you have 63% are shopping online because they have direct delivery at home. 57% said they're shopping online because it's cheaper. They find better prices than they do at retails that are in a physical location. 54% say that it's more convenient. They found how convenient it is. They figured that out because of the pandemic. And 50% have said that they love how they can shop anytime they want. They can shop when they're at home and at the end of the day, and they can get the product delivered at home the next day. So it's so convenient that if you're not, all of a sudden they're not forced to, get out of work and then run to their store to get what they need. They can do it online at any time. And like we said, if you're not there, if you're not present, you're missing out. So it's really important to adapt, or you're going to risk becoming irrelevant. This is huge. It's no nonsense. You can't wait around if you don't have an e-commerce presence, and you can't wait around if you have an e-commerce presence. You got to make it better, because maybe you have an online store, but you're not getting the results that you expect. So there's a lot of things that can be done about that in building a great shopping experience for your shoppers and your users. Almost 50% of people said they would shop online more frequently after the outbreak, after the pandemic was over. So people got online because of the pandemic, and they're going to stay there. So what are some of the things you can do in 2021 to be competitive, to build a great online presence, and to have a digital experience for your users that are going to make you super competitive, and are going to, at the end of the day, it's going to help you sell more. It's really important to, like we said, to build a seamless experience. To build a platform and an online shop that is easy to use and can be used from anywhere. Mobile, a computer, a tablet. No matter where your shopper is shopping from. To get to as many consumers as possible in an easy platform to use. You want them to have a seamless experience. That comes to the next point: upgrading your checkout experience. It's fundamental. It's incredible how many stores out there still have an unintuitive checkout process, and that's where most people leave. They put something in their checkout cart, and they leave because the checkout experience wasn't the one they were expecting. So that's fundamental. Building a great checkout experience that's going to make your shopper want to buy your product because it's so easy. So a lot of times, we've been building things for some customers that allows your customers to store their credit card information in a very safe and easy way. So next time when they come back, they don't have to fill out everything again. They can check out quickly, and that actually makes the shopping experience funner, simpler, and actually helps you sell a lot more. Sometimes it's really important to connect your checkout to your point of sale. What does that mean? Maybe you have an online presence and a physical store. Having a connection between those two, where a shopper can check out online, but feels more comfortable going to your store to pick up the product, or having another solution where they can interact with a physical store, actually makes it more likely for them to shop online, and then they feel comfortable going and picking up their things, especially shoppers that are just getting into e-commerce. It's important to automate processes. This is fundamental across software, but it's so fundamental in e-commerce, to have an automation process behind your platform to generate promotions, to get to people. You can automate shipping costs depending on the day. If you need to do it at a certain time frame, because you have analytics that tell you, certain times of the month you need to lower shipping costs to be able to sell, or things happen. Automations are so important. And for some of you that are just getting into e-commerce, that might sound like it's really complicated, but it actually is not. Once you get the flow going, once you build the technology behind it, it simplifies your life, and it makes selling easier, and it makes it easier to reach your client with promotions, with discounts, and so forth. And that's so important. And then for some of you that are more advanced, you're already there and you want to be more competitive, you might want to start evaluating the opportunity that AR brings to the table, where you can experiment with AR in an e-commerce platform to help your shoppers have a better shopping experience online. Because in the next few years, companies that do this are going to have an edge, because they're going to allow their customers to try their products on, to feel like they're, sort of the experience of going to retail at a physical location, and allows them to actually have a better shopping experience all around. Next slide, please. So then we get to brand building. You know, it's so important to build a great brand. You know, half of all global e-commerce sales happen on marketplaces like Amazon, where consumers they're just searching for a solution. You know, they're not necessarily looking for your brand. So how do you differentiate yourself? You know, because you know you're out there in a world of sellers trying to get consumers. So building a brand has never been so important. You know, and it's not that simple. That's why you want to bring in people in. And I'm not even talking about ULTRIX. I'm talking about Villafañe or the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that have experience in building great brands and helping consumers get to their, helping their sellers get to consumers. And it's really important to understand that a lot of consumers want companies that are socially active, you know, that are conscious about, you know, the way they sell things. They're conscious about things, the way they go about doing business, and they're willing to pay for that. So that's important. You know, it's not just about offering the best prices online, but it's offering, you know, a solution that is conscious and it's more than just about selling. And it's important that as you build your brand online to have, you know, a message of things that you're trying to achieve through your company that goes beyond just selling. You know, so they have to build rich, immersive experience like we were talking about. The example was AR. Well, there's other ways to build an online experience that's immersive, that generates, you know, a great shopping experience for consumers, so they get there and they keep coming back. And it's important, you know, to build these channels that are going to bring them and they're going to, you know, they're going to have a great shopping experience. It's going to help you out. It's going to help you, you know, curb that shopping cycle that a shopper might have, because if you build a great shopping experience, they're not going through the whole process again of, you know, searching for a product, for a solution they need, finding alternatives, checking prices, and then buying. If you build a great experience online, a great e-commerce solution online, next time they need something, they're coming straight to you, and that's great for you because they're not going through that whole process. Next slide, please. So, talking about this, 74% of companies are going to be super focused. You know, this was you know, data that was collected by Shopify. They're going to be super focused on building a great brand identity and building a great experience online that makes their users feel comfortable in their shopping experience. So they're going to be working on personalizing experiences for their consumers. You know, building a strategy that makes them, you know, that differentiates them from the competition. So, and those are companies that are online. So if you need to get online, you need to get online and you need to have a great presence. You need to have a brand. You need to know what you need to transmit to your customer base. And so it's not just about, you know, hey, let's put together an e-commerce and let's put our products up and let's see what we sell. No, you gotta build a brand identity, and there's a lot of ways to do that. And like I said, Villafañe, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and us or other development firms can help you build the identity that's correct for your consumer base, that's going to help you stand out. That's fundamental. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of the things you can do in e-commerce. Look, we're going to go over these things that are, you know, cutting edge in 2021 for some people that need to build better e-commerce experiences and are thinking of ways of being more competitive in e-commerce in 2021 and on. And then at the end, we're gonna talk about people that are just getting into e-commerce and how they can go about this, because if you're just getting into it, if you're just thinking of building your digital presence, this might feel like it's too much. but stick with us, because at the end we're going to talk about some simple alternatives to just get started out in e-commerce. But these are some of the trends we're going to go over now that are going to be super important to be competitive and to have a competitive edge in 2021. So, like we said, AR, it enhances the reality of online shopping. It's a great technology, and some companies are starting to implement that. And just think if an SME does it, you know, if small businesses start doing it, it's going to be awesome for them. There's voice search, you know. There's been some studies that show that, you know, if you can build a platform where it's easier for consumers to, you know, to interact with your platform, and that might be voice, it's going to help you sell more. Artificial intelligence is fundamental. You know, people, I don't want to scare anybody off with when I say AI. You know, they think AI, that's complicated, but there's a lot of automation solutions, ways to understand what your consumers are doing, what consumers in other platforms are doing, or your customer base is doing, and you know, you can set up some AI solutions to help you understand the consumers you have better, so you can sell to them better, but also to understand what's going on all over the market, so you can focus, maybe you can focus your strategy towards your potential customer that you don't have yet. So AI is fundamental on that. On-site personalization uses those insights to create individualized experiences. So maybe this comes back to analytics that might feel like it's a lot, but it's actually not once you get into it. If you understand your clients, then you can build experiences that are special for that client. You know, maybe things are going on in your web page can then be used in social media, the platform to provide a better shopping experience, understanding what your client might need or want, and just focusing on their needs and not on a general, you know, generic need, and that's really, really important. Big data is important too, you know, understanding what's going on out there, because, you know, e-commerce platforms are generating so much information about consumers, and SMEs might feel a little distraught about, you know, getting into it. But there's a lot of tools out there to help small businesses in a cost-effective way to understand what's going on in the market as a whole, so you can make better decisions in your e-commerce platforms. Chatbots, that's really easy to implement. You know, it's you know, putting a few lines of code sometimes in e-commerce, and then having a chatbot experience where you have automated responses. It might be more cost-effective because you don't need personnel, you know, interacting until it's absolutely necessary, and then through a chatbot experience you can sell. You can even generate, you know, we built a platform a few months ago where it's not actually an e-commerce where you pick a product, you chat with a chatbot, and it gives you suggestions. So you say, I'm looking for men's shoes, and we give you the men's shoes through the chatbot. You click one, and then you just go check out on Stripe. You know, a chatbot is a great experience because if it's automated correctly, it's simple to implement, and you can generate a shopping experience that's really cool, and that will get shoppers, you know, feeling you know, cool about you know, doing that in such a simple way where you're like, hey, I need you know, women's shoes, and I need shoes from sizes 32 to, you know, 36 or whatever for a kid, and we give you the options. You can go in there and you keep interacting with the chatbot until you check out via Stripe or PayPal. So a chatbot can be a super cool to implement for shopping. Mobile shopping is still on the move. You know, a lot of people shop on their computer, but most people are on their phones. So having a great, you know, if you have an e-commerce maybe you have an e-commerce from a few years ago and it's outdated, and it's not a great experience on mobile. You have to have a great experience on mobile because shoppers are going to be on their phone most of the time, and they might be on their phone checking out to then go home and get on their computer and do the shopping. But chances are, if they have a great experience on their phone, they'll finish the purchase there. And if they can do that, that's really great. So having a shopping platform, a shopping e-commerce, a store that is great on mobile is fundamental. And it's like, you cannot have a store in 2021 that's not great for mobile devices. More ways to pay. So there's always more alternatives, easier ways for consumers to pay. You can implement credit cards, that's obvious. Stripe, PayPal, but now you have installment plans. So you can implement APIs like from companies like Affirm or Later Pay, where you can allow your shoppers to pay in installments. So maybe they don't have the cash and they don't have a credit card, but they can pay through Affirm, and all of a sudden you have a shopper that you weren't going to have before. Now you implement installment plans, and they can shop. And there's even stores out there that are implementing, cryptocurrencies, because it's safe for them, because it's not a cryptocurrency a few years ago where it was like, it was kind of, you weren't sure what you were doing. I read today that actually Tesla is gonna allow Bitcoin. I saw that a car might be like 1.5 Bitcoins or something. So having the more payment methods that you have, whether it's debit, credit, installment plans that can get implemented, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, you have to expand. You have to have the most amount of payment methods possible, so your client gets to check out and has an alternative to be able to pay. And like I said, I want to be super. I want to talk. Make reference once again to installment plans, because companies like Affirm or companies like Afterpay and a few others provide installment plans, and that helps you sell more, because it might be a young client that doesn't have a credit card, doesn't want to use the credit card, and putting installment plan options in your shopping experience is going to help you sell more. There's no, Taide knows this better than anybody. Video is fundamental. Customers respond better to video. So you have videos in your online presence, whether it's social media, e-commerce, videos are going to help you sell more. This might not be for everybody, but subscriptions is fundamental because customers keep coming back. So the main one on this, like the main reference, is probably Costco, where you have subscription plans, and then consumers have discounts for being a subscriber to your platform, to your store. And actually, what a lot of people don't know is that Costco makes most of their revenue from subscriptions. Sometimes they lose money on products, but they build a subscription plan where customers feel great because they're getting great discounts, and so they feel great about paying subscriptions. So that might be an alternative for some stores. It's really important to be conscious, like we talked before, so building a solution that you're showing your consumers that it's sustainable, that you're thinking about more than just making money. That's so important to have that presence in to have that on your online e-commerce. And B2B is growing a lot, and that might be interesting for some of you, because it's not all B2C, it's not all just for consumers, it's B2B. And a lot of the B2B shopping that's been getting done over the last few years is still antiquated. There's a lot of companies that are putting purchase orders for business purchases through their procurement department, and they have to do it via mail, they have to do it via phone, they have to do it via fax. Some companies, I actually heard this week about a company that keeps shopping from another business, and they have to place their purchase orders via fax, and that's crazy. So B2B is also growing, and why not? Consumers are shopping online. Why not businesses? Why not allow a business to buy their materials or their things they need to operate their business online? So it's changing rapidly, and a lot of companies can make big differences in the B2B space if they do it correctly. Next slide, please. So this is the part where we get into, are you just starting out? Some of you that watch this video now live or are going to watch it later, or just getting into e-commerce, that seems like a lot. You need to just get started to have an online presence. It's important that you get on board and you get your products and services online as quickly as possible, because it's going to help you. You're going to have a lot of advantages from having your own e-commerce. So you're going to be more competitive. You're going to be able to generate a better user experience for clients that want to, because there's, the same way we talked about some company, clients looking for solutions, there's going to be clients who are looking just for you. They're out there looking for your brand. If you're not online, you can't get them the user experience they need. You can't get to that client that is already in your circle, and you're going to miss out on a sale because they're not going to see you there. And it's a great way to build, a great relationship, a long-lasting relationship with your clients, because you have an online presence and you know they're there. They know you're there, and that's really important. Next slide, please. So some tips for the beginners. So people that are just getting into e-commerce, or thinking about it, been thinking about it and have put it off. Like we said before, you have to build an online store that represents your brand. It's not all built the same. You know, it's not the same to build an online store for, you know, consumer goods and for services, or for shoes, than it is for, you know, beauty products. So you have to be able to, you know, talk to people that are, you know, been doing this for quite some time, and that would allow you to build an online store that's great for what you're trying to do. It's not, you know, one size fits all. You have to build an online store that represents your brand. Like we said before, and this can be implemented from day one. Make the checkout process as simple as possible. I can't say that enough. If the checkout process is not seamless, if you don't have as many payment methods as possible, you might lose a customer that might have been a great customer long term, but they left because the checkout process was too difficult. So checkout has to be simple. Make sure that your platform, like we said before, that your e-commerce store has a simple navigation. It's easy and intuitive to move around and shop, whether you're on a phone or on a computer, like we said before. Make it intuitive, make it simple. Simplicity in designing your e-commerce is going to make a huge difference. Make it simple, make it clean, have a presence that's super intuitive, and that will help you out in the long run. High quality images, it seems like something super simple, but maybe somebody that's starting out doesn't realize how important it is to have a lot of images of your products and to have high quality images, because it's going to make your company seem more serious. Because if I go into a new store and I don't see, a good quality image of what I'm trying to buy, I think there's something weird going on here. And it's, it's 2021, everybody has a phone with a good camera. You have to have great images, and it's incredible how many stores I see that don't have them. High quality images are fundamental. And it's important to provide good filters and product categories, allowing your shoppers to do easy searches in your online store, so they might find the alternatives that they're looking for. Maybe they were looking for something, they put in like, as a general term, men's shoes, and they have a great filter, or men's basketball shoes, and so they have a great alternative. They end up buying maybe another product or something that's more expensive. Having great filters and categories and allowing your shoppers to have a good search experience is fundamental. It's not just about putting everything out there and letting him or her find a product. You have to make it easier to search and to categorize and to filter out, to have a customer that actually sees all the alternatives you have available. So it's just simple things that can be implemented now in your first online store. If you don't have it, you can do it from day one, and it's going to help you sell more. Next slide, please. So we're here to help. If you need to build your online presence from the get-go, or you need to better your online presence, have an online store, but you're not having the results that you needed, maybe you need to evaluate what you might be able to change to sell more. And if you don't have an online store, well, every day you don't have an online store, you're losing sales, and it can be, the difference between a company having a lot of success or a company ceasing to exist. I don't want to be alarmist about it, but it is. There's no going back. There's some companies out there like, it's not for me. Like I said, maybe B2B companies are saying, this isn't for me. My clients don't need that kind of solutions. Clients will, come and shop more if it's easier to shop, even if it's businesses. So a lot of you out there are like, my clients have been my clients for a long time, or things like that. Having an e-commerce, having an online presence is fundamental, regardless of what you offer, regardless if you think your client base is set, regardless if you're business to business, you have to have an online presence. And so maybe you have any doubts about that, we can talk about it. We're here to help, whether you do it with us, whether you work with somebody else. The idea is to help SMEs in the United States sell more, and that's beneficial to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Great presentation. You touch a lot of key points throughout the presentation, and I want to pick your brain a little more before we leave. But before we jump into a few questions that I have for you, someone is asking what is augmented reality. If you can give an example of how you can use that in an e-commerce store, please.
Augmented reality, right? So, augmented reality, correctly?
Yes.
I didn't hear you. Yeah. So, for example, augmented reality allows you, like the simplest way for somebody to understand AR is, you go into Instagram or Snapchat, and you put on a filter, and a little face comes up, and you're an animal, or you're something. You put on a filter. So there's a lot of technology out there that you can implement something like AR that's being used in Instagram or Slack to actually help you sell products, because all of a sudden you can do that with a T-shirt, you can do that with a pair of shoes, you can do that with sunglasses. So a shopper can, see how something might look on them, online, and they might be more inclined to be able to buy that product. And some people think oh, that's really complicated, but technology is going quickly, and it's not as difficult to implement as people think. And so maybe somebody out there that's looking for a differentiator, they might want to think of AR. Large companies are going to start doing that. SMEs might be more inclined to wait a bit, but AR is going to be a big disruptor in e-commerce in the next few years.
I agree. And another example of immersive experience, of an immersive experience, I'm sorry, David, if you can.
Right. So a lot of times when you go into an e-commerce shop, you have this generic experience. You go in there and everybody has the same experience. If you start using analytic tools to understand your client better, and you understand who it is, and again, I don't want to cloud people that aren't so into this, but it's not that complicated to get your clients' information, to understand their what they're doing in your store, what they're looking for, to understand who they are, and based on that, then next time they come shop, you can actually build an experience for them, whether it's the products that they see, the way they shop. Maybe you have, like I said, you can automate promotions. So maybe you can automate a promotion that's for them. There's automation that can make the shopping experience better, and maybe a client comes to you, you have the right analytics tools set up in your code, and so you get that client's information. Next time, they're on Instagram, you can go and you can, be on their news feed on Instagram, on Facebook. They come back because you provided something that's for them, and when they come back, it's more immersive, it's built for them, it's built around them, it makes them feel special. That really makes a huge difference, and definitely pushes sales.
Now, David, you probably read this before, but almost 50% of small businesses in the U.S. don't have a website. We're talking about almost 50 million small businesses in the country don't have a website. So when you go into talking about e-commerce, just from moving from website to e-commerce, it can sound very overwhelming to some of these business owners. But if you don't mind, just sharing an example, and I would like to, use the restaurant industry for this brainstorming that we're going to do right now, because there are a lot of restaurants in the Latino community, for example, and in other communities as well. So for a restaurant, if you can just tell us how easy it could be just to put an electronic menu, connect that electronic menu with a an online payment solution and set up something easy in the back end so the business can start taking orders online without having to sacrifice so much of their profit using some of the other options that we know that they're available right now?
Absolutely. First of all, it's crazy to me that over 50 million businesses in the SMEs don't have an online store, because, you know, it's proving time and time again that's going to help you sell more. In the long run, you're going to get to clients that weren't available before, because people are going to do a search, and they might find you, or there might be somebody really far away that wants to buy your product. But getting into the restaurant business, we all know that people want to be able to get their their orders quickly, and they want to do it on their phone. But we also know that some of the platforms that are available for delivery are expensive. You know, they chip away at the restaurant's profit, and that sucks. There's an alternative. You can, going all the way, you can build your own delivery app and have customers download it, and having this big development. That's not even that difficult right now. If somebody wants to do that for a local, a local area, maybe you want to build an alternative to Uber Eats or something, or one of those other applications, and you want to build something for your community, you can do that. You can build a platform that's competitive, and then maybe you have a different pricing structure. You have a different setup. Maybe it's a SaaS software as a service, so the restaurant's not paying high commissions, but maybe they pay something once a month, and you build something for that community. But maybe a restaurant just wants a solution that integrates with chat, with Messenger, or with SMS Messenger, WhatsApp. And so maybe they have an online menu where a client can order, and that automatically sends a WhatsApp to the restaurant, and they can quickly get that order out, and even integrate a checkout process where the payer. Stripe is great for everybody. Even Stripe is super easy to integrate into any platform, simple or not. It's kind of so intuitive. They've done such a great job. So it's easy for a restaurant to set up. Whether it's an app, a web page, where they link, or something that's integrated to a chat. They list out their products. It's really simple for a consumer to pick what they want to eat, and they check out, or maybe you don't want to go that far. Maybe you just wanted them to write their things in an online way, and then you get the order. You message them that you got the order, and then they pay in cash when you get there. You don't have to go all the way, to building the next Uber Eats. There's a lot of alternatives. And restaurants have to do it, because the reality is, no matter where you are in the world, if you want to eat something Friday night, Saturday night, you're going to look on your phone. You're probably not going to look for a phone number, and you're probably not going to go out to get something unless it's absolutely something you want. And you need to be able to provide a simple solution that's cost effective. You don't have to go all the way with a huge platform. Be able to build, an online, thing like you said, where you have your products you offer. You allow them to shop. Maybe you allow them to pay, or they can pay in cash when you get to their door. All restaurants have to have some alternatives. And it's really important for communities, for small restaurants, for individual restaurants, for communities to understand that they can build an alternative that's a lot more cost effective. That they don't have to be paying these high commissions, and they can get to clients online. Because clients, people that want to eat Friday night, Saturday night, Monday night, we're going online, and maybe you don't want to be on Uber Eats. But there's alternatives that are way, way, way cheaper. Maybe one cost off, and then you have something that is going to, provide sales for a long time to come.
I love what you said about being cost effective, because sometimes I feel like, small businesses feel like implementing an e-commerce solution as part of their business model is going to be expensive, which is not. Once you run the numbers of being active on a platform like Shopify, they have a monthly fee. They charge you per X amount of percentage per transactions. Then if you want to start using, Shopify is all about apps, right? you have to use different apps to conduct certain processes within the platform. So every app is going to have a monthly cost, most likely, if you go for the premium stuff that you actually need, So once you start adding everything up, at the end of the month, it's not just what Shopify charge you directly, but it's also all the other added applications that you need to add to your store in order to perform to what you want, right? Just to give us an idea, David, how much do you think it will cost to set up an e-commerce store for like a restaurant, for example? Let's think that it's like an average menu, maybe like 25 items or something like that.
It's great you talk about, cost effective. First of all, it's important for whoever's going to build their online presence to think of the return on investment. Whatever investment they're making, how long it might take for them to get that investment back. And like you said, maybe they can start out with a Shopify. But things add up quickly. You're paying for Shopify, but then you need to implement plugins that other developers have built so that you can have a better experience, so you can supply it better, so you can provide a better experience, so you sell more, so you don't miss sales, so you don't get a client that's angry because you didn't deliver on time, and all those things that start adding up because you have a plugin that's $5 a month, $4 a month, $10 a month, and that adds up over time. Building an online shop that's your own, that you pay a one-time off, and you might pay some server costs, but nothing compared to what you might pay with those platforms. And then if you're a small shop, you probably won't pay, for example, we have, we're partners with Google Cloud, so a lot of our clients don't even pay anything, and they won't be paying anything for a long time unless they become extremely successful, and that's great if that happens. Extremely successful in the sense of reaching thousands of customers, thousands of So the cost can vary a lot because, for example, us at ULTRIX have so many alternatives, for example, for people that are looking to have an online store. But we can go from anywhere for very simple solutions that are straight to the point, get my product out there, integrate Stripe or PayPal, and sell. We can go from as low as maybe, in some cases, for simple stores, as low as $500 for just one-time payment, and then you're online, and you get going. And then if it's a more integral solution with the back end and allowing you to manage everything from your own platform, so to build out a platform, so you can manage your store and you can integrate it with your inventory and your accounting, and there's an integration behind it, that can range, but there's alternatives for $1,000, $2,000, and maybe up to $3,000, $4,000, which is like a good price to pay for a one-off e-commerce that's going to build you a customer base long term, and it's going to be very cost effective in terms of return of investment. A lot of times when you go out in the American market, you see people are going to build you an e-commerce for $10,000, $15,000. That's not an alternative for a lot of SMEs. We can build that great quality, great speeds, great loading speeds. That's fundamental. Shopper comes, they don't want to wait 20 seconds for the page to load. So that's it's not cheaper because it's slower or nothing like that. We build it on the cloud. We build things with Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, etc. We can build things on their own servers, so they can have it on premise if they actually need it. But we can do it in a cost-effective way. Like I said, something super simple. We can build it for some hundreds of dollars sometimes if it's a simple solution. For example, for a menu for a restaurant, and we can go up in terms of the needs. It would be great to in each use case, each alternative that might be needed to have a chat and to understand what the needs are to get a good price estimation. But it's definitely a lot cheaper than most people have in mind. Those 50 million businesses that don't have an online presence probably don't have it because they think it's going to be so expensive it's not worth it. It definitely is. And with nearshore development like the one that we offer at ULTRIX, it's even more possible than it was before.
No, I agree, and I think and you mentioned it in your presentation that the pandemic has accelerated the e-commerce adoption for a lot of businesses that were kind of like on the fence, saying like, you know what, I'm not ready, I don't want to get into the digital economy yet. But I think right now, because of everything that is happening in the world and even in the domestic market here in the U.S., it's extremely important for small businesses to have a strong digital presence. And even if it's not 100% part of their business model, they have to have a hybrid business model that includes, whatever they have been doing traditionally and the e-commerce component of the equation. And I think it is extremely important that small businesses talk to people like you, like companies like you, like ULTRIX, that understand branding, that understand marketing, and understand the development part of the equation, because it's like an fully integrated consulting service where you guys provide, and you are gonna develop what the business need to succeed in the marketplace, and not just give them an e-commerce store just for the sake of giving it to them, right, David?
Absolutely. So, anybody that wants to chat with us, has some doubts, wants to, understand, we'll do that anytime. Obviously, no charge. Absolutely, that's out of the question. We can consult. Anybody can come and consult us and see what alternatives they have available. And like I always say, we're going to find a solution so they can have. Maybe it's maybe they're inclined to wait out a bit, but they can start having some sort of presence online and start growing it. Mm-hmm. And we might be able to provide for an SME that has less funds, or has been hit with the pandemic hard, or is just wants to try it out and see if they can start selling. We can provide a solution that fits their budget. That's really important for them to understand. It's important for us that anybody that wants to talk to us understands that we're going to talk to them. We're going to find a solution there's so many alternatives out there. We're going to find a solution that fits their needs, their online store needs. But they need to be online. Even those that are B2B, the people that think that they can keep selling the way they're selling because it's fine, they're missing out. And if they talk to us, or maybe other nearshore companies, because it doesn't have to be us. They're gonna be helped out in terms of building a good brand presence, building something online that's gonna be long term, and it's gonna help them sell, and it's gonna be on their budget. It's gonna be cost effective. We've even had clients that needed payment plans. We can talk. We can find some way for them to get their online presence and their e-store and to start selling more. We want to help. We want businesses in the U.S. to grow. We want to help SMEs all over the United States.
Someone is asking if e-commerce is applicable to a service company. David?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Service company. Is e-commerce applicable to a service company?
Absolutely. I've even seen I've seen universities that are selling things, and you would never think that a university can sell. I'm not talking about a course. There's universities that are selling MBAs online. I've seen companies. You have people like you have companies. I don't know, attorneys, accountants, a lot of service providers that can provide a consulting service online that can get paid in a subscription basis. I've seen it all over the place. I've seen attorneys that are providing solutions on a subscription-based service that with a digital presence, it's cost effective for them because they can have a video call with you whenever you have a doubt, and it's cost for you it's a lot cheaper than going out and finding an attorney and paying every time you got to talk to him. But not just for that, maybe you're a service provider for companies, for businesses, and buy services like underwriting or whatever. You can sell services, and people will pay them if they see that it's an alternative that's going to be good for them in the long term. Maybe they don't want to be out looking for alternatives every time they need a service, and they're willing to pay a subscription, or they're willing to pay something on the spot. Services can definitely be sold online. It's not just products. Services definitely have a need to be online also, because now you're missing, even if it's not that, even if you have a service that you absolutely cannot sell online for some reason, you still need an online presence. You need to be able to provide information about the service you provide online. So even if it's not a store for your service, you still need to have a presence so people know your service exists and they can reach out to you.
Definitely. So great information, and a lot of the concepts that you addressed today, they need further explanation and digging a little deeper into them, so businesses can understand the different opportunities that e-commerce offer to what they're currently doing. So thank you so much, David, for joining us today. And thank you to ULTRIX and the whole team in Argentina. Saludos a todos. Is there anything else that you would like to add, David, before we go?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for anybody that's been online and that might watch it later. Thank you for your time. And absolutely, there's so much more to talk about. We can get any of the things that we talked about. We can have whole presentations about just one topic. So I'm looking forward to talking about e-commerce and development in general with you in some more webinars.
They're asking us, a couple of people ask us for this presentation, but in Spanish. So vamos a tener que hacerla, David.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
We can do it in Spanish.
Well,
en español también.
¿Verdad? Thank you so much, David, and have a nice evening, and say hi to the ULTRIX team down there in Argentina.
Thanks, Taide.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.